question your education, strategy, trade skills, and intuition. Imagine your trade successfully materializing, obeying your trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed or fear, and never looking back or stopping once your trade has commenced. All right. So if everybody can hear me okay, drop me one in the chat and we will get things underway. All right. All right. Cool beans. So let's hop over to trading economics. Take a look at things there. We'll talk a little bit about the yen, their rate statement coming up this evening, and then we'll go from there. So, all right. So first up, we have Eurozone GDP beat forecast, right? Uncertainties on different things back and forth in the Eurozone, but the economy grew by 0.4% in Q1 of 2025, up from 0.2% in Q4 2024, beating expectations of a 0.2% increase. Domestic demand was supported by easing inflation and lowering borrowing costs, helping offset concerns over volatile U.S. tariff policy. Germany grew by 0.2%, and consumption and investment, while Spain and Italy outperformed at 0.6% and 0.3%. In contrast, France and the Netherlands posted a modest 0.1% gain. All right. Um, so some positive news coming out of the Eurozone there. Okay. Uh, then we have what's happening? Uh, one second, everybody. Okay. Then we have China factory activity shrinks most in 16 months. Um, Manufacturing PMI fell to 49 April 2025 from March's 12-month high of 50, below the market expectation, marked the first contraction in factory activity since January and the steepest decline since December 2023, despite Beijing's stimulus measures aimed at supporting the economic recovery amid growing concerns over the impact of the ongoing China-US tariff standoff. Right. So tariffs are impacting things across the globe, and that will continue. Brent crude futures dropped towards $62 a barrel on Wednesday, falling for the third consecutive session, and again closing at its lowest level since April 2021. As uncertainty over trade policies continue to weigh on demand outlook. Oil is paced for a monthly loss of over 16%, its steepest decline since November 2021. Erratic U.S. moves have heightened fears of a global economic slowdown, especially amid the ongoing tit for tat exchange between U.S. and China, further dampening the market sentiment. U.S. consumer confidence fell sharply, signaling growing economic strain. While OPEC Plus may consider accelerating its planned production increases at its May 5th meeting, API data also revealed that U.S. crude inventories rose by 3.7 million barrels last week, well above the expected 390,000. All right. So that stays the same. Oil continues to push to the downside. Um, European stocks traded mostly higher on Wednesday as investors digested a wave of earnings and Eurozone GDP data. Stocks is 100.4%, extending its longest win streak since January, while stocks 50 was flat, to slightly lower. Autos gained by 1%, supported by a softer stance on U.S. automotive tariffs after Trump signed an order reducing duties on uh, inputs like steel and aluminum, although the 25% vehicle import rate remains. Corporate updates, Stellantis plus 2.5%. They suspended their full year outlook due to trade risk. UBS beat expectations with a $1.692 billion profit amid a recovering recent share losses. Barclays up 1.7, also posted better than expected results, helped by investment banking. In contrast, Volkswagen down 2%, saw profit fall under tariff pressure, while Total Energies down 3.3%, reported a sharp earnings drop and weaker accrued prices and refining margins. All right. So where we are overall there, I do want to take a look at um, the yen, Japanese yen slipped around 142.4 per dollar on Wednesday, marking second consecutive day of losses as a string of disappointing economic data pressured sentiment. March figures showed that industrial production declined more than expected, while retail sales growth also fell short of forecast, signaling potential headwinds for the Japanese economy. Uh, Attention now turns toward the Bank of Japan's upcoming policy decision. The central bank is expected to keep interest rates unchanged at 0.5%. Policymakers are expected to take a cautious stance as they evaluate potential impact of newly imposed U.S. tariffs on Japan's export-reliant economy, adding to the mix of U.S. Adding to the mix. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Tuesday that the Trump administration held substantial talks with Japan regarding a possible trade agreement, offering some hope for easing bilateral tensions. Right. Um, Additional data to add to this sentiment um, as we prepare for that rate statement this evening. Right, inflation. Right, inflation trends for the Bank of Japan. Core inflation. The core consumer price index rose to 3.4% year on year in April. Excuse me. It's the highest in 2 years, driven by increased food prices, reduced energy subsidies. The uptick suggested a mounting inflationary pressure, potentially supporting future rate hikes, right? But on the economic side, the tariffs, including 25% duty on automotives, they pose significant risk to Japan's export-driven economy. These measures have led to downward revision to Japan's 2025 GDP growth forecast to 0.6% by the IMF. So what this means is um, Governor Ueda, he in some of his previous interviews and comments to the IMF, that they're committed to the 2% target. However, the timing of additional rate hikes are uncertain, right? Um, excuse me. Market participants still believe that there's a possibility for 25%, a 25 basis point rate hike in the third quarter. But that is going to be contingent on the economic developments, right? Um, so what I expect in the statements today is honestly a cautious stance, right? Um, because they're trying to balance inflation and the risk that comes into play with the tariffs and how that could impact the economy over the long term. So for future policy adjustments, we're going to continue to look at inflation and wage growth, but also a major piece of that is going to be the trade policies and how those continue to evolve. So that's what Governor Ueda is balancing. That's what the Bank of Japan and their board is balancing, and that's going to cause some concerns for them. It's causing some concerns for them as they try to make this decision going forward. So I think there'll be a cautious stance today um, with similar things like the path being uncertain and data dependent, right? So we'll keep our eyes there on the Bank of Japan and how things go. All right. Over to the indices. The stock market futures, excuse me, slipped on Wednesday as investors await crucial economic data and major corporate earnings. Market attention is focused on the release of the March PCE price index, Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, alongside the first estimate for Q1 GDP, both due later today. On the earnings front, mega cap tech giants Meta and Microsoft are scheduled to report after the bell today. So aftermarket activity could be interesting. Um, that's drawing heightened investor scrutiny. In extended trading, SMCI plunged more than 15% after issuing weaker than expected preliminary results for its fiscal third quarter. Tuesday's regular session saw continued strengthening in equities, with the Dow rising 7.75% and the S&P 500 gaining 0.58%, both posting their sixth straight day of gains. NASDAQ Composite added 0.55%. Market sentiment got a lift after Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick indicated that the White House was nearing a trade agreement. President Trump later indicated a deal with India could be finalized soon. Okay, so that's where we are on the stock market overall. Just a quick peek. Benny, good morning, bro.
Ryan, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Awesome. What's top of mind for you this morning, bro? Anything?
Uh, Man, everything you said, just with a main focus on GDP. That's what everybody's waiting on because everybody's fearing a recession. At least you set your banks. A lot of
Yeah.
major banks cut their GDP forecast. So just want to see what happens at 8:30. I think that's 8:30 today, right? That comes out GDP.
Yeah, my bad. I forgot to hop over to the calendar. Yes, 8:30.
Yeah, 8:30. Advanced GDP. That's the big one. A lot of people are waiting on. So we could definitely see some volatility around that number. Because a lot of people are predicting contraction, but we will see if it comes in, where it comes in. Above forecast, under forecast, we'll see what happens. But that's the big one for me today.
Could this number be higher than expected due to kind of that last push of purchases before these tariffs went into effect?
Good, good, could be, man. It's been a lot of hype building around this number, so
Yeah.
that could be the case. That's why everybody's waiting on it because we know, data's impacts are lagging. I mean,
Yeah.
so Uh, that's going to be quite interesting to see. But that is the big one for me today is what does that GDP come to because that's going to play right into sentiment,
Yep.
right into sentiment because what was I reading this morning? It was let me see. Uh, so investors are keenly anticipating a batch of fresh economic data that will offer insights into the health of the U.S. economy and worries that the U.S. is close to a recession after U.S. President Donald Trump slapped high tariffs on international trading partners in April. Um, so it says several Wall Street banks have cut their GDP forecast and are estimating negative growth. So, additionally to prefer the personal consumption rate, expenditures index for March, which is the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, is due shortly after at 10 a.m. Eastern. Economists polled by Dow Jones see no gain for March and a 2.2% reading for headline. So um, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So
Hmm.
you got GDP and the price index coming out. So we'll see. It's that's at 10 a.m. But no, that's the big data for me today. Of course, like you mentioned, the earnings coming out after market, but during the market hours today, that's some major data coming out. So see what happens with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I pulled up a few additional numbers here. So, um, economists anticipate a sharp slowdown in GDP to an annualized rate of 0.3% in Q1, down from 2.4% in Q4. That's
Wow,
from Investopedia.
wow.
Um, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, their GDP Now model projects a 2.5% annualized contraction for Q1.
Mm,
Goldman Sachs, a forecast of 0.8% contraction, citing record high in goods trade deficit in
mhm.
March as a significant drag on GDP. And that comes from Reuters. And then the New York Federal Reserve contrarily estimates a 2.6% growth, highlighting uncertainty and divergence in the economic projections.
So they said a what? 2.6% what?
The
Growth?
New York Federal Reserve 2.6% growth.
Oh wow. So you got 2.5% contraction from the Atlanta Fed, which they called it early.
Yeah,
And then you got growth from New York. So that's everybody. That's why you see that the market is all over the place.
all over the place.
You got two different Fed models, two Fed models saying two different things. Like, wow,
Yeah, yeah,
wow. So it's a toss up. So you have to
it's a
decide
toss
whether
up.
or not you want to be a part of that. Because that is straight up like that's crazy. 2.6% growth versus a 2.5% contraction. I mean, that's just a different. You got one model in the south and one in the north.
Yep, exactly.
So that's wow. So that's why the data is important today.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
Definitely gonna be interesting.
Yeah. But that's all I got on my mind, man.
Cool deal. Team, you guys got anything from a fundamental perspective? Any thoughts, questions, or data that you've come across? Nope.
No.
I think I was reading too that the Dow, right, seeing gains of like 11%, but I think it's still down 11% from his high or something like that. So it's like you really just have to read between the lines, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's interesting.
Yep.
I don't have any news on any of those. Interesting, interesting. We shall see, man. We shall see. Cool beans. Nope. All right. So to the charts. Um, I'll come back to that gas. Dollar still inching along in this range, right? We saw that pullback come, 382 again, inching along to the upside. It's on the 4 hour time frame. We got the stochastic and the sell zone there. Back to the daily, we're still sitting in this 80-20 zone. Still sitting in this 80-20 zone, trying to figure things out. Stochastic is in the sell zone though. Right. So we'll continue to monitor that as we go along. We'll see how things move today with the GDP data and PCE data. All right. Um, you also have the ADP numbers at 8:15 as well, right? So precursor to the Friday data. But that's where we are on the dollar. Still in this range-ish area, right? Just bouncing back and forth there. Um, as I said, stochastic on the daily and on the 4 hour in the sell zone. So we could potentially see more push to the downside. All right. So that's really it on the dollar. Not much movement happening there. All right. Ba, ba, ba. Do want to bounce back and take a look at this nat gas. And we're seeing this 80-20 on the daily time frame start to make its way back to the upside. All right. Just breaking that B boundary again. So look for price to get to at least this 382. And then we'll assess things from there. Okay. We'll assess things from there. But on this move back to the upside, on this move back to the upside, right? So we come down to the 4. See that a little bit more clearly there, right? And we talked about that push down, getting some consolidation in there, and then making that move back to the upside. And that's what we got, right? So on the 4 hour time frame, we've hit that TP1 level, right? We could see a pullback come back into this range around $33.16. But from a daily time frame perspective, looking forward to continue moving to the upside after pullbacks and continuations. Okay. And also on this 4 hour, right? Bullish push above the cloud. We got some consolidation now. And we got the cloud bullish ahead, right? So it would make sense for a pullback to come and retest the cloud, right? And then see if we get that next leg to the upside, getting set 382 on the daily time frame. Okay. So watching that there from that perspective. So what we were looking at is starting to play out on nat gas. Okay. Headed back into this mid $3 range. Um, and then we'll assess. Okay. So come down to the 1. I want to run a fib off the low to track the waves to the upside. All right. We see those got taken out. So run this fib off the low. Boom. And got an 80-20 there on the 1. Right. So pull back into the sweet spot, which is back into that range that we're looking at on the 4. All right. So price would come back to the 618 retracement range here, which is right in line, right? Previous resistance there. Previous resistance there. Right. Boom. So we get a pullback back into the zone. Nice opportunity to take that back to the upside. All right. But 80-20 to the downside, and then look for a 618 retracement on a move back to the upside. That's what I see on nat gas. Any questions or thoughts there?
Really liking the 80-20 plays, man, in these conditions, right? I like them all
Man,
ways.
they
I
are
like them all
playing
ways.
out,
Yeah.
bro.
yeah, I like them always, but in these conditions, it kind of makes sense. Like when you talk about our sweet spots, it's the shorter term move, right? It's the correction. So it's kind of like, hey, all right, I'm in and out. I got my money. I'm done. Like whatever Trump says next, I don't care. I'm out. So,
Yeah,
if I'm playing anything, I really like those setups right now.
yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you 100%, bro. 100%. 100%. Questions on net gas? No? All right. 1 second. Got to make one adjustment here. All right. Let's not gas. Um, mm, mm, mm. Take a look at the Swiss yen ahead of the data. So the Swiss yen, right, is in this range, right? Caught in this range here, bouncing back and forth. We had a nice retracement come here after getting to that high. We got a stochastic in the buy zone. Okay. Um, if we run, now look at this on the 4 more closely, but there's a fib just off of the range there. Okay. Um, Nice pullback, 50% retracement level. Got some consolidation there. Could potentially see this rise if the BOJ comes in dovish today. Okay. Um, so watching this to see if we get another boost to the upside and potentially break to the top of this range here. Okay, getting to 181. Um, so watching that closely, and that would also get us to just shy of the D extension of 183 if we get that push to the upside. So that's going to be interesting to see there. So we come down to the one and we look at those fibs a little more closely here. We got to that 382. Okay, boom. Now we're matching the extension. If we're able to break back above the cloud and break this resistance level, right, is at 180 on the 4. Okay. And this is that area from the daily that I have marked out. It's a larger fib in play off the daily, off the 4. There we go. Right. There's a larger fib. There's that matching the extension from a larger fib, capital fib perspective, right? Which is in line on the daily, right? That 183 range. But because we're in this consolidation, I just wanted to zoom in here, right? And if we get this break, right? If then statements, if price breaks the cloud and we're able to break above the resistance level, we could head towards that matching D extension here on the sub fib and on the capital fib on the 4 hour and on the daily. Okay, so I'm watching that there, right? See what that data is this evening, and if we get the catalyst for this to start to make its move to the upside, right? At least in the short term, right? If they're uncertain, the market will be uncertain as well. And if they come in dovish, we always kind of slow play the Bank of Japan's moves. And so if they come in dovish, then they're kind of dovish, right? So we will see what the data looks like. But that's my thought if we get those types of comments. All right. So we come down here to the 1, and this is that fib coming off the top, right? We got a 618 retracement. We weren't able to break out to the downside though, right? Price held here in the zone. And we came back, tried to get back to that low, and we weren't able to, and we broke back above the cloud. Okay, so we're back above the cloud. We got the Kumo twist here. We got a lagging span breaking above the cloud and above price, right? And we got our TK crossover. So um, do have a stochastic in the sell zone. So we could get a pullback, but looking to see, we have all of our criteria met on the cloud. Do we get price to continue to rise here? All right. And then getting us back to 175, where we'll take a look at where things sit from there if we're able to break that daily level. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at on the Swiss yen, potential for a move back to a continued move to the upside from a higher time frame perspective. Questions on the Swiss yen?
Nope.
All right, cool deal. Let's take a look at this Euro Aussie as it's still trying to figure things out, right? We got this nice strong break of previous resistance, right? Break, retest, continuation. Now, where do we go from here, right? D extension achieved. Didn't have a new fib pop in, but it'll look like that. Yeah, that'd be a new Kappa fib. So sitting at a 236 retracement level, stochastic in the buy zone here. Not able to move back lower yet, right? Um, so looking to see how things continue to go here from a Euro Aussie perspective. That Aussie data yesterday came in above expectation, right? CPI came in above expectation. So but didn't get a ton of movement out of the Aussie. Okay, because we're still uncertain, still risk off. China's still in the same place, so not a ton of reaction from the currency there. So looking to see if right the euro with beating the GDP forecast, um, inflation down. Looking to see if there's anything that could give the euro a boost, right, to either get us into this 118 or 127 zone or to this 198 area. Okay, so cash in the buy zone, uh, almost at zero. So looking to see what the catalyst to be for another move to the upside here. That's on the daily time frame, giving us an 80-20, and then we can move from there. Coming down to the 4, right? There's your fib on the 4, and we're just consolidating right now at the 618 retracement level. Okay, so from a 4-hour perspective, sitting right in the sweet spot. Do we get a catalyst to give us a cloud break, cloud confirmation, a retest, and a continuation to the upside? Okay. Another one, just keep your eyes on if we're able to get a breakout of the consolidation at some point in one direction or the other. Okay. So really watching that off the 4. We'll come down to the 1 just to see where we sit, right? We took the A out there. We run these to the downside. That's where we are there. We got to the 382, not able to break out to the downside and just consolidating, right? So the primary look for me is off the 4-hour, see if we're able to get a fundamental catalyst and move this to the upside. Questions on the Euro Aussie?
No, sir.
Nope. All right, cool beans. Euro Yen consolidating, right? I'm looking for a catalyst in one direction or the other. Excuse me. Yeah, and that's just where this one is, right? It bounced back and forth. We could see this one similar to that pound yen, get a move to the upside, right, and break out of the consolidation if the Bank of Japan comes in dovish here. Okay, so we'll just keep our eyes peeled on this one. Let's see if we're able to break out to the upside, right? So that's really it on the euro yen. Not a ton happening in my book right now on that one. Euro dollar just shy of the 118 level here. First AB boundary, stochastic in the buy zone. All right. So that's where we are on the daily. Yep. That's where we're on the daily, just hovering around that B boundary, 236 retracement area. Looking to see what happens next. We have a stochastic in the buy zone. Do we get, just like on when we talked about yesterday, do we get that retracement in the dollar? Waiting to see that, right? If we do, then a nice push to the downside, getting us back into that 618 retracement area. Okay. So watching that one for a potential move to the downside if we get a boost in the dollar. Okay. Coming down to the four, similar story, right? Just hovering there. Not a ton really for us to do, kind of in no man's land, right? So waiting on a low price to then get back along. Okay. So in no man's land right now, waiting on movement for the dollar. Same thing on the one. Okay. Same thing there. So that's the euro dollar. I believe we looked at the pound yen yesterday, right? Just trickling along. But if we come in here, so daily time frame, we got an 8-6 retracement, stayed inside the AB boundary, couldn't break below that daily support. And then here on the four, also inside that AB boundary, right? 8-6 retracement, got a nice push, got a nice cloud break here, right? And so now it's just do we get that continuation on this pound yen? Okay. Been moving along great to the upside off that support. Stochastic still lower in the zone, right? So do we get the catalyst for this to at least to continue to the top of the range, but are we able to break that and continue to the matching D extension of 203 before the third quarter? Okay. So watching that there for potential continuation to the upside on the pound yen. We come down here to the one. And there we are there, right? We got a 618 retracement, matching the extension on the 1 hour is 193. Okay. Been riding above the clouds since the break. So yens are looking long. Um, most of them from a technical perspective. We'll see if the fundamentals align with them. All right. Um, Benny, you have any pairs or indices or stocks that you got your eyes on, just watching movement after data?
Costco,
Costco.
Costco daily chart.
Is that them? COST?
What'd you say?
What's the symbol, bro?
COST.
It is COST. Okay. Trying to break the cloud on the daily. Boom. 618 retracement on the daily. Almost a double bottom there. And we're trying to push. I like that look, bro.
Yep.
Stochastic lower in the zone there, trying to turn over. Trying to break the cloud. Run my fib off this low. Boom. Nice. Nice. Sitting above the cloud, all we need is a Kumo twist here. Um, uh, let's see what happens when the market opens. I like that. I like where that's sitting. I like where that's sitting. Come down to the four, bounce back and forth there. Hmm. All right. Costco to the upside, good people. Costco to the upside, good people. Let's watch this here. I like it. Um, Aussie yen. Any questions on Costco?
No.
Break out of that consolidation there. Boom. Boom. All right. Keep your eyes on that one, good people. I like it. I like it. I like it. Um, Reset Aussie yen. I think we'll get another push higher before coming down. I do think overall we come down on this Aussie yen. So over the long term, I am bearish. But my thought is, do we get another push to the upside first? Um, yeah, do we get a push to the upside first before getting that move back down? Stochastic still up in the sell zone here. um, so with that BOJ data that comes out this evening, that'll kind of give us an indicator on if we're going to get this move back to this resistance level here. That's my anticipation. Okay. Now, if they come out with more of a hawkish tone, we could see this just go ahead and collapse. Right. So that's what I'm watching is what their tone is and what the forward guidance is, uh, to give me better insight. But my initial thought is another push to the upside before coming back short. Uh, Go ahead. Somebody about to say something?
No, that was my bad.
Oh, good. So as we come down to the four, right? Similar look here. Got trend line coming to the downside. That if we get a push to the upside, it could come in line with that resistance level. That resistance level, right? Of that trend line. So that's what I'm looking for. And then if we continue to break above and take out the A, right? That just shows more weakness in the Japanese yen. But initial thoughts are deep retracement and then a move down. But I see what you're talking about there on the four. That makes sense, Reese?
Ryan, I think your sound went out, unless you're not talking.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Um, did you guys not hear me at all? My bad.
Um, the last part when Reese asked to repeat it.
Gotcha. Okay, I apologize. No, I was just saying, another push to the upside, getting us back to this resistance level, and then looking at a move back down to the downside, right? If the Bank of Japan comes in dovish. And so here on the four, that's that move to the upside there, coming in to that trend line. My bad, my bad. We'll watch and see, right? We'll see. We'll have more insight. Late night, early morning. We'll see what the Bank of Japan has to say. Cool. Uh, appreciate you letting me know that, Donette. All right, cool beans. Any other pairs you guys got your eyes on that you want me to take a look at?
Pound NZD 4 hours, the 80-20 that we drew up last week. That's moving to the
Pound
upside.
NZD. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is making its way.
And gold 5 minute, there's a 80-20 that's trying to play out.
So, right, we got that capital fib there, but we zoom in on this one right off the daily. That's a B boundary, starting to make its way to the upside, broke back above the cloud on the daily. The guys are getting the sell zone there, but we come down to the four, and this is that 80-20, right? Touched on it yesterday too. We're moving, right? Nice break of the cloud. We got an 80-20 here on the sub fib. Okay. So do we get a pullback, retest the cloud, and then that continuation getting us to that 382 off the four, right? It's been a beautiful move out of the zone so far, right? Nice cloud break, right? And so now just do we get pullbacks and continuations to the upside on this? Okay. Right. Here we are. We just missed. Let me take this off for now. Right. Just missed the D extension there on that push up. Try to get there multiple times. Didn't give us that initial retracement, right? But do we get a retracement and then a continuation to the upside? Okay. Um, that's what I would like to see. Give us another low price opportunity to add to that position. Um, as that continues moving along, we'll see if we get it or not. But um, with that 80-20 still being intact, that potential is still there for a move down. Okay. And that's just literally just looking for a low price for a continuation back to the upside, getting to that daily 382. Okay. So definitely liking that one. To continuous move to the upside, getting us there, potentially even higher. Okay. So that's definitely been a nice play so far out of the zone, right? At its high, 384 pips. Beautiful work. Beautiful work, team. Questions on the pound NZD? No. Oz NZD and then gold. What was the NZD? Oops. Boom. The AB boundary formed at the 382. We moved back down, didn't quite get to the 118 and 127 zone. Excuse me. Turned over there. And we're pushing back to the upside here. Okay. So casting in the sell zone. We'll see what happens if we get a pullback there. But moving to the upside right now, come down to the 4. Not able to break out to the downside. And we're moving back long. This one is always interesting because you got two commodity currencies here, right? But moving to the upside nonetheless, right? In between, because you got a 50% retracement, but you weren't able to break out to the downside. But excuse me. I had my cloud on here. Nice cloud break here. All right. Beautiful break there. Let's see what stochastic is. Stochastic coming out of that buy zone. That one's going to continue moving to the upside. All right. I like that. Nice cloud break there, right? Got the confirmations. And so now do we get pullbacks and continuations to the upside there on that Aussie New Zealand? Appreciate that, Joy. All right. And then that brings us back here. We can run a fib off the low. And we'll track that like that, right? Potential for a pullback here as well. Right, didn't quite get to that D extension. We may get there, we'll see. But do we get a pullback in the low price for then a continuation to the upside? That'll give us that low price to continue long. This could just continue pushing, right? Joy's position from the daily. Beautiful. Great work, Joy. Love it. I love it. All right. Nice move. Nice move off the low for sure. Great work. Great work. So that's the Aussie NZD looking long. Joy's position off the daily support, moving to the upside.
It's a bigger field.
It's a larger field.
Mm-hmm.
We're at
Right from, yep. Yep. I got it from it's from smart. It's a smart field. It looks so different when you zoom out. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I start running from here.
From February
There we
22nd.
go. Yep. Got you. Okay. So looking at a 8-6 retracement off the daily support. I dig it. I dig it. Let's see what we get off that. Let's see what we get. Nice work, Joy. Nice work. Daily fib, 8-6 retracement, daily support, and we're pushing to the upside. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's the Aussie NZD. Then we'll close things out with gold. So the net set down on the 5-minute chart. $80.20 on the 5. Pushing out of the zone now. Working ahead to the upside. Nice work, done it. Nice work. There's Dressful Sevens in the chat for the team. Apologize. All right, 80-20 on the 5. Moving to the upside. We'll see how things go from a Reese playing on the 15. Got it. Multiple levels here. All right, let's bounce back to the daily real quick. Let's sum this up so we can see what this is. So daily, we're sitting at just shy of a 382. That consolidation coming back down to that low level, right? Just above that 382 there. Didn't get the pullback. Boom. Okay, so that's on the daily. Stochastic in the buy zone here. So could continue to hold that level and look at a move to the upside. Come down to the 4. Run this fib off below. Boom. All right, so on the 4, we got a 786 retracement with that wick there. Daily support. We haven't been able to break that support level. Haven't been able to break that support level, right? So do we get that to continue to hold? Stochastic also pushing down into the buy zone, daily buy zone, 4-hour buy zone. Do we get that move back to the upside, getting us to 35.82 as the next target? Let's see. Let's see. I like it. I like it. So we come down to the 1. We took the A out on the 1. Yep, just back and forth on the 1, not clear. So we come down to the 15. Reset. He also had an 80-20 on the 15, which is off that spot there. Boom. Nice push. Look for pullbacks and continuations to the upside, right? So from a higher time frame perspective, we got a deep retracement in the sweet spot, looking for a move long, and then we got 80-20s on the lower time frame on the 15 and on the 5, looking for initiations of the move long on gold. Great work, team. Great work. Great work. Questions on gold? No? Benny, anything before we wrap it up, bro?
Hey, just from a technical perspective, like I said, man, like the 80-20s, right, are the plays,
The
right?
80-20s are
So
the plays.
yeah, being a hunt for that, just because we know when we talk about an ABCD wave, right, your corrections are your shorter term moves, and that gives you an opportunity, not to be in those positions for as long with all the back and forth that's going on. So it's one
Yeah.
thing I kind of just been sitting back patiently and marking up the charts and then watching things play out just to see, like, wow, is it still holding up? And that play is still holding up, regardless of the conditions. Uh, does it take more time for some of them to play out, as opposed to when you got a ton of, volume in the market and things like that? Yeah, it's taking a bit more time. Like the switch in play was a long time running,
Yeah.
they kind of get choppier for a little while longer before they move. But those are the plays. So whatever chart that you trade on, right? So we see down there with the 5-minute, reach 15, 30-minute, Joy, everybody can trade on different charts. But the beautiful thing about what we do is that setup is the exact same. It's the exact same. So it doesn't matter, you know, take your shot on your play. If it's a 4-hour chart and you sit in those, if it's a 1 hour, it's a 15-minute, but the play it's the same. What you're looking for is the exact same. And I think that's amazing, right? When you think about that type of consistent pattern that plays out. So that's what I would be looking for. If you're trading those C to Ds, just know that it can take a very long time. It could be whipsawing back and forth for a long time, like a play like that Euro Aussie, kind of just ranging. But for the shorter term moves, like the 80/20s appear to be the play after sitting back for several weeks now and watching these charts move.
Yes, sir.
So nothing could defeat the 80/20. That's not right. Right. It's like all conditions. And it's like, you have to go around the block a time or two, right? Like you can't replace time spent in the market. Like that's the best teacher. So it's like, okay, we've never been hit with this, at least in my lifetime, with these crazy tariffs since I've been a trader. So that's something new. And it's like, dang, like I've seen COVID made 15% corrections in the market, all inflation, now tariffs. It's withstanding everything. It's withstanding everything, but you never can discover those things if you quit and you don't spend the time in the market through all the ups and downs. So that's just, I don't know how many more catastrophes you could go through before you get convinced, like, man, this move is playing out, on a consistent basis. Do you lose? Yeah, that's trading, but as far as over the long term, a move that's getting you numbers, catching your pits and points, depending on what you're trading, like the 80/20 seems to be pretty universal. So that's all I have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good people. Keep being diligent, man. Keep being diligent, keep being patient, keep picking your spots. And like Benny and Reese both said, 80/20 is undefeated, man. Undefeated. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-New York session. You guys have a phenomenal Wednesday. Peace.